All right, Heaven. So what questions do we have today?
All right. So first question comes from Casey. She recently had a daughter. Congrats to Casey. It's been a few months now. So her message was, I have about $2,000 I need to add to her account. Currently doing weekly deposits. Since the market is down, would it be in my best interest to put a few large deposits in now, let's say $500 a week, and see where it moves? Or should I just continue with my normal weekly deposits?
Okay. I'm going to pull up this whiteboard really quick and let me see if I can crudely draw this example out. Oh God, this is going to be a disaster. All right, so we got $2,000. Can you see this?
Oh, that's beautiful, man. Beautiful work.
For Casey's baby, right? All right, I'm not going to obviously articulate. I'll try to just write the big points here. So there's three options. There's UTMA. Wow, what's this? We got UTMA. We have 529. And then we have a custodial account. So this is all I'm going to really write here. Now, these are the three choices she has. UTMA is a great account if you are not gung-ho on your child having to go to college. If going to college is something that you kind of want them to do, but it's not the end of the world if they decide to do something different with their life, you'd want to go with the UTMA. If college is a requirement, they have to go, it's non-negotiable, they need that degree, you want to go with the 529. And if neither of those options are really a concern, a custodial account is the last choice. So broadly between the three, UTMA is for, they call it the little kitty tax. So it's kind of like a hybrid of an account that it's taxed at a much lower rate because it's taxed at the child's rate, which is like basically, Casey's daughter is not even walking. So she clearly does not have any income. So the tax liability on that money in there is going to always be like extremely insignificant. It'll go on Casey's tax return, but it's just like an insignificant amount of money. But the big benefit with that account is that when she becomes an adult, her daughter is now 18, legally that money is hers to do with as she pleases. If she wanted to go buy a Porsche, she could do that. If she wanted to go buy a home, she could do that. If she wanted to go on vacation for 2 years, however she wanted to use the money, it's fully her daughter's discretion. There's been parents, and I've opened these accounts for parents where they don't tell the child about it. Again, her baby can't even talk, so she's unaware. But parents have opened these accounts as like a secret, as like a fallback for the child, but not letting them know. So if they need it in a bind, it's we have this money that you can use, but they didn't want them to know that the money was there. That's a common approach if college is not not a requirement. 529, that's going to be basically like the Roth IRA version of an account for your child. The money is going to go in, it's going to grow tax-free like a Roth, and it will be withdrawn tax-free like a Roth, but only for higher education. So if they want to go to private school, if they want to go to college, graduate school, anything related to education, that money can be used tax-free. And then lastly, the custodial account is going to just be basically like a trading account, checking account. You can put money in, you can take money out, but it's in the child's name. So those are kind of the three options. I believe Casey set up UTMA. I can't remember exactly, but the short answer of it with the 2000, the simplest way for the child is just you have the account at M1, you set up the big picture, you set up the SPY, you put the money in weekly. If it's just $2,000, you put the $2,000 in right now, forget about timing the market. And that was kind of her question, which if the market's down, we're in a technical bear market, should I put some money in now? And if it goes lower, put more in. And it's not going to make a difference in 18 years. It's going to make a minor difference today or tomorrow, but it's 18 years, it's going to make no difference. So she's better off with just, and I don't believe she's at M1, and that's why I believe that she's in cash, where if she was at M1, the money would have just gone in every single week. It would have been invested, and maybe she'd be down, if she started it this year, she'd probably be down maybe 8%. But as the money keeps going in and as the market kind of works its way up higher, it will eventually grow. And for her, she had 18 years ahead of her. There's no 20-year period in the history of the market that the market's been lower 20 years later. So if she can stick with the consistency, like why we love M1 so much, put in a fixed amount, work on increasing the amount, having a simple plan such as buying the SPY or buying the big picture, her daughter's account should perform very well over these next 2 decades. So that's kind of the answer for that. All right, Heaven, I believe you're muted. So we gotta.
I am dealing with some technical difficulties. I just hopped on my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, cool. Okay, so yeah, that was a great explanation. Next question was actually kind of from David Eisenhower. He's in step 10 right now, and he kind of wants to know basically like SEP IRA versus 401k. Which one should he be using right now? He has his 401k, but he seems to be having a lot of like technical issues with ADP, like the system that it goes through. And he's just wondering if he should swap over to a SEP IRA or what are some of the benefits of each one.
Okay, so we got SEP and we got 401k. And I'm sorry, for him, is he the business owner of this business?
I don't think so. I think he's an employee.
Okay. All right. So if he's an employee, he doesn't really have the ability to open up the SEP. So for contribution wise, 401k right now, max contribution is 19.5. SEP is going to be basically like 25% of your gross income up to, I believe this year it's like 59,000. So if you made like 265,000 this year, you could in theory max it out. SEP is going to be pre-tax, which we're not fond of, but if you're self-employed, you're over the income limitation of a Roth, you got to work with what you got. 401k, you have the option of pre-tax or Roth. And if you are shipping pre-tax, we could not disagree with you more. We would always, no matter what, always pick a Roth 401k. So for him as an employee, the answer already seems kind of on the wall. He's not self-employed. He's a W-2 employee. He has to keep his 401k. If it were me, it would be a Roth 401k. And I would continue to increase those contributions until I get towards this amount, this 19.5, which comes out to, and again, I apologize for my chicken scratch writing. If you're paid biweekly, it's $750 per paycheck if you're paid biweekly. So that's your benchmark. I know a lot of people get very, I don't want to say turned off, but they get afraid of this number, of this 19.5. It sounds like a dramatic number. But if you're already taking $200 a week out of your paycheck, okay, well, let's get it to 220 and then to 250 and so on and so forth. And maybe it takes 2 or 3 years, but if you can save this amount of money, if you can ever get to this amount where you're maxing out your 401k with $20,000 plus your employer match, it's going in tax deferred and tax free upon withdrawal, and you got 20 or 30 years ahead of you, you will have millions and millions of dollars tax free, and you will never have to worry about money in retirement if you can do just this. If you're self-employed and you're making more than $140,000 a year, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. So you would benefit dramatically if you're self-employed by opening a SEP. You will lower your taxable income in the current year. You will not get as much of a tax break down the road, but you got to work with what you got. And again, both approaches, investment-wise, we would just do the same thing. Pick the SPY, pick the big picture, and you kind of let it rock. But again, if he is self-employed, because when you mentioned he had issues with ADP, when I hear that, it's often the business owner opens up this plan. Again, when they open up 401k plan, your employee retention is obviously much higher because you have something you can offer that other small businesses don't offer. But the problem with using your payroll provider for 401k planning is ADP and Paychex, they're phenomenal payroll providers. They are not phenomenal 401k providers. It's an add-on for them. It's not their core business. But when when you're running a business and this person says we can do your payroll and your 401k, you say, okay, you guys just handle everything. But then they end up kind of dropping the ball. And I've heard that many times, especially when I was an advisor. There was a member, Mr. 80K, who he had this same problem. And I told him from the beginning, I'm like, they will screw up your plan. I can almost guarantee it. And 2 years later, it happened, and he had a ton, way more employees, and it was so much harder a problem to fix than if we could have just fixed it initially. But that's a different topic for another day. So hopefully this kind of answered again. If it's more, if we get more information on his question, we can dive into it deeper. But this kind of gives a broad explanation of the two, if you can again somehow read my horrible handwriting.
Yeah, definitely. I know that you mentioned you had a topic that you wanted to discuss. I think it was more so about like custodian accounts. I know that we kind of went over that one in the beginning, but is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, that was, I think one of the guys said it in let me check. It was like in a long-term group. Hold on, let's see if I missed anything for it.
Win was asking about
Okay, so
tax-free.
Yeah, so he asked about if he can open up like a Roth for his child, and you need to be 18. So that's where it's, the UTMA is going to kind of be like a hybrid of a Roth for the child. The 529 will be the closest to a Roth equivalent, but only for higher education. And then the custodial is going to be kind of like a trading account. With all three of the accounts, you really can't go wrong because the tax implications on the money in those accounts are always going to be insignificant relative to that person's own tax situation. There's only so much you can add to a SEP. I'm sorry. There's only so much you can add to a UTMA or a 529 each year. It's $13,000 per parent. If you double that money in the year, it's at that your child's tax rate, which they're basically starting off in a 0% tax bracket. It's going to be always insignificant. So you really can't go wrong. It's really just kind of your personal preference. If they want the money to be readily accessible, you go custodial. If you know this money is going to be locked away for a long time, then you choose between the UTMA or the 529.
Got it. Okay. I think that's about it. That's all I got on my list. I had one. It's kind of a random question that I got from somebody that just said, if you had to choose somebody to manage your portfolio, would you rather have Michael Burry or Warren Buffett, and why?
I'm 100% Warren Buffett to the grave. Burry is phenomenal at the fact that he had I would love to know how he traded out of GameStop, because he had it when no one cared about it, and then it had that run up, and I would love to know where he got out of that. It would kill me if he got out at 40 and then he missed that whole run up. But that, I don't think we'll know for quite some time. But for people like him, as smart as he was, even I think back to the financial crisis, and there was oh my God, the guy's name, no, not Paulson. There was a guy who had this huge gold hedge. It was all these I don't want to call them one hit wonders, because Burry is a genius, but Warren Buffett is timeless. He's always, no matter what, he's always made money. Best performing stock, pretty much inception of the stock market, BRK.A. So I would always go with him. It will definitely be much slower. It won't be as exciting, but he's weathered every storm humanly possible. And I'd rather the slow, consistent grind than we're down 90% and then tomorrow we're up 500%, and it was 4 years of being down 90% to have that one day of being up whatever. And that everyone says they want that 500% return, but they don't want the 90% drop. And those go hand in hand. You can't get the 500% without the 90% downside. So that's where I would always pick Warren Buffett over Burry, but both, just geniuses in their own regard.
Yeah, good answer. Maybe a little bit of both in the portfolio. That might be good. But that's all the questions I got here. Does anyone in the chat have anything they want to go over? Victor, I know you're new here. Maybe you have some questions. Give you a second. If not, it'll be a quick one.
Hey Ben, I got a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
So I set up the UTMAs for my daughter, right? And just kind of know what's the best approach. Should I just feed the SPY and just keep feeding that weekly, or should I have like somewhat of like a big picture set up over there?
Where is the UTMA at M1?
No, the UTMA, I think I did it off of TD Ameritrade.
Okay. So first, after this, I'm going to send you a link and just you can set a time this week and I'll help you move it. At TD is fine, but the problem is, especially, how old is your daughter?
8 and 4.
Okay. All right. So you got 10 years for your older daughter. You got 14 years for your younger daughter. You do not want to be logging into TD every single week or every single month trying to buy the market or pick the stock, whatever. It's going to be way more inefficient. And even like with Casey's example, that's a good example because like she had the $2,000 sitting there, and it's doing her no favors to be just kind of sitting in cash. So very easily, even if you funded the account with a couple of dollars, or they're not funded yet, it'd be much easier, especially at the UTMAs. And at M1, they offer UTMAs. They don't offer 529 plans yet. In a 15-minute phone call, we can open up both those UTMAs at M1. We can add the big picture model or the S&P. Again, they're both basically identical models if you compare the performance. My big picture model broadly lags the SPY by 10 basis points a year. So for every $1,000 invested, it lags by $10. And that's just a purely mirroring. You're not doing any rebalancing. The reason why I prefer the big picture over the SPY is for two reasons. One, the SPY for most people is so boring that they can't do it. The big picture looks more like there's more going on than it is. It's really still matching the market, but you can see the pies. And when sectors go really really out of whack, energy up 40% this year, or up 200% this year, telecom down 30-40% off highs. That's the times where you can rebalance and you can take those profits and you can do a little bit. You can kind of have I don't want to use the word fun, but you can do a little bit of trading in that account, but without doing any damage because if energy is outweighing your portfolio, and trying to keep it very simple, and I'll use this little whiteboard. This is the SPY and this is the big picture, right? So this is the SPY and this is the big picture. They're twin brothers. They're or brother and sister, whatever. They're both identical. They're both going to markets going up. They're both going to go up. Markets going down. They're both going to go down. They're going to do the same thing. But you cannot rebalance in the SPY because it's like, think of it as like a pie of pizza. You bought the whole pie and the pizza guy did not cut up the slices. So you're literally you take the pie out of the box and you're eating it like a savage from the crust on the way in. The big picture, it's broken up into these 10 slices or 12 slices. And as the market starts to go up, there's going to be certain sectors that are going to lead the market right now. Utility, energy, they're up here right now. And we're going to say the top of this pie is going to be the best sectors. They're going to be up the most. And then eventually they start to go down the list and then become the worst sectors. So 6 months ago, beginning of the year, technology and consumer discretionaries were the best. Now they're the worst. Now they're kind of down here. So 6 months ago, if you were up 30, 40, 50, 60% in these major sectors, and now you had a 10% allocation in the mall, well, what happens is when you get them up to here, now they're the best, you now have a 15% allocation in technology. And let me try to delete some of these little lines because I don't want it to get too confusing. All right. So we're going to stick with just the big picture. So we got the big picture.
I like that. No, honestly, I didn't even know M1 had UTMA. If I knew that, I would have went straight there.
Yeah, and again, that's over here now, and it's again very easy to change it. But that's the only reason why I like the big picture more than the SPY, even though it will lag marginally, is if you know how to rebalance. So when you have this pie evenly broken up, 10% around the board, when technology is up here with consumer discretionary 6 months ago, and it's now 15% of your portfolio, and 6 months ago energy was not doing so well, and energy was now 5% of your portfolio. when you do rebalance, and this is again is very infrequent, every 6 months, once a year, you now capture the profits in tech. They sell some to bring it down to 10%. So you sell a little bit, and then you increase the energy. God damn it, this is hard to draw with. From 5% back to 10. So you're forcefully buying low and selling high. And when you're doing it with the broad market, you're not doing this very frequently, and you can't really get too beat up. With individual stocks, 10 individual stocks, yeah, you can get destroyed because then you can drop 90%. You know, the technology sector is really not going to drop 90% unless something, you know, dramatic really happens. But by doing this broadly, we're going to lag by 10 basis points to the S&P. But we can easily pick up that tenth of a percent by doing one proper rebalance a year. Now, one time that we can take advantage of technology when it's at its high and rebalance it back to the weaker sectors, you'll pick up that 10 basis points. And for now, okay, now energy is up here. Now it's energy. Wow, that's a V, D, E, and utilities, VPU. Now these are the ones that are at the top of the pie. These are 15% of the portfolio each. And consumer staples is destroyed along with the biotechs and telecom. So now, these are, we'll call it, 7% of your portfolio each. And these are 15. Okay, I can rebalance now. And even for these two sectors, VDE and VPU are not really extended enough to really rebalance. But at some point when they get blown out enough, that could be the time. Okay, now I can rebalance and I can buy back these weaker ones. And you're moving this wheel in this circle. This is like proper rebalancing, where it's the sectors that are getting towards the top of the pie. They're the highest percentage allocation. You're selling those by clicking the rebalance button, and one does it for you, and it buys back the weaker ones. So you're forcefully selling high, buying low, and the wheel just continues. The wheel keeps rolling and it grows. Most people do it backwards. They do it in reverse. So you think of right now, 6 months ago, every person that was not a member that I would speak to would be, I'm waiting for a correction. I'm waiting for a bear market. I can't wait for the market to collapse. I can't wait to invest. I'm take advantage of all these deals, X, Y, and Z. And today it's the exact opposite. The market's going to crash even further. I want to sell everything I have. I want to get into cash. So they're rebalancing backwards. They're in this pie. They're buying when it's high. And then when it drops, they're selling low. And they're repeating that cycle over and over and over backwards. And they're never getting ahead of the curve. And once you've gone through, one or two of these bear markets, and you're able to properly do this when you're seeing, okay, IBB is down 50%. VDC was down 20% last week. When you can see that and still be aware of what the process is, what the goals with these accounts, and you can take advantage of that, then you start, not that you look forward for bear markets, but you're not afraid of them. It's not this, oh my God, the world's going to end. I need to sit in cash and, all these things. You understand that the wheel has to keep rolling, and it needs to touch the bottom before it's going to get back to its high again. It can't just always go up on a 45-degree angle. So hopefully, again, my chicken scratch handwriting, hopefully these visuals make it a little easier to understand. But I would recommend, I'll post the link in this chat to set a time where I can help you move over your UTMAs to M1. So this will all be done for you without you trying to have to figure this stuff out manually, which is just very hard to do over the long term. All right, and I think
looks like Oscar's got a quick question right here regarding pensions. He said he just started working for CSU, and we are under CalPERS pension plan. Wondering if I'm able to dictate where the money from my paycheck gets placed, such as Roth or 401k. Would really like to just have that money invested into this buy.
So the pension plan, it sounds like you work for some type of school or college. I guess this is CSU, is some university. So pension plans are really, they're really just teachers and like in the unions, really any unions still have pensions, but they're dated plans, not dated that they're bad. It's like guaranteed income for life when you set them up, but it's not like your 401k would be separate. They probably also, if you're working for a university, if it's private or public, either it's going to be a 401k or to be a 403b if it's a public university. And that's where you can dictate the Roth or the pre-tax in that plan, whether if it's public or private. But the pension is going to be different. The pension is going to have nothing to do with the tax treatment. Pre-tax or Roth is just the tax treatment of the money going in. The 401k is the investment account. The pension is a different investment account. So again, the pension plan, they're all different. So I'd have to personally see how the plan is set up and what options are available. But your Roth or pre-tax designation or the 401k, it's going to be separate. And more than likely, your employer offers either this 401k or the 403b, depending on if it's a public or private institution. So Oscar, you probably have to just talk with me privately where we can look at it and we can set it all up.
For sure, Ben. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll probably message you about that just because I have a couple questions regarding it and whatnot.
Yeah, super easy.
For sure, man. Thank you.
No problem. All right, I think
that's about everything, and I think time's going to run out pretty quick here. So just to kind of recap, I think for the most part, the name of the game is to stay consistent when it comes to your long-term investing and just weekly deposits. Don't try to mark a bottom. Don't try to buy more now because it's a little bit lower, because at the end of the day, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you're not going to recognize this 20% drop. So, just keep it consistent and avoid over stressing yourself out for no reason.
Definitely agree. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys all for joining. Again, when we post a video, please drop a little thumbs up. And if you guys have any questions for next week, you can post them in the comments. I'll let Heaven know, and we'll go over them next week. All right, guys?
Yep. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
See ya.